Think about it for a second. We naturally assume that two doctors diagnosing a patient, or two judges evaluating identical cases, or even two recruiters looking at the exact same resume are going to arrive at the exact same conclusion. We completely rely on that consistency. But the data tells a vastly different story. The reality is, human judgment is incredibly variable, especially when we're dealing with really complex subjective decisions.
Today's investigation is broken down into 6 crucial steps. 1. The hidden flaw in judgment. 2. Bias versus noise. 3. The 3 types of noise. 4. The illusion of expertise. 5. Conducting a noise audit. And 6. Practicing decision hygiene.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the hidden flaw in judgment, the silent enemy of consistency. Let's figure out what's actually happening here. When perfectly reasonable professionals produce entirely inconsistent outcomes, this unwanted variation, it's called noise. And the reason it's so incredibly dangerous is that it literally hides right in plain sight. Whether we're talking about medical diagnoses, legal sentencing, insurance underwriting, or hiring, noise lives inside these apparently reasonable individual decisions. If you look at just one decision in isolation, well, it usually makes complete sense. But when you zoom out and look at all of the decisions together, you see this chaotic spread of completely unexplained differences.
Moving on to Section 2, bias versus noise, the 2 faces of error.
To really get why noise is such a silent killer for organizational efficiency, we need to contrast it with something you're probably much more familiar with, and that's bias. Imagine a bathroom scale. If it always reads exactly 5 kilograms too heavy, that scale has a bias. It is a consistent, highly predictable error. If a company systematically discriminates against a specific group, that's bias. It's like throwing darts and having them clustered really tightly together, but just on the wrong part of the dartboard. But noise? Noise is when that scale reads 2 kilos over, and then 3 kilos under, and then maybe 7 kilos over. It's totally inconsistent. If 5 different managers look at the exact same job candidate, and their ratings range all the way from poor to excellent, that crazy variation is noise. It's like darts scattered completely randomly across the entire board. And while bias rightfully gets a ton of attention because it's a visible pattern, noise often just goes entirely unnoticed.
Section 3. The 3 types of noise. How inconsistency penetrates the system.
So what exactly is making up all this scattered inconsistency? It's pretty wild to see how deeply embedded this variability is in human nature. First off, we have level noise. This is all about personal baselines. Like one judge is naturally just super harsh, while another is naturally lenient. Their overall averages are just fundamentally different. Then there's pattern noise. This is about how our own unique, quirky preferences interact with specific cases. Manager A might absolutely love candidate 1 but hate candidate 2, while manager B feels the exact opposite for their own subjective reasons. And finally, we have occasion noise. Honestly, this is the wildest one. This means you wouldn't even make the same decision as yourself. Your judgment literally changes based on your mood, or if you're feeling sluggish on a Tuesday afternoon, time pressure, or even something as random as what just happened in the room right before you made the decision.
All right, Section 4, the illusion of expertise, why we trust intuition too much.
You might be wondering, if our judgments are so easily swayed by fatigue or our own personal baselines, why in the world are we so confident in them? Well, it's because we suffer from this massive blind spot. We just assume that what we see is all there is. As humans, we're actually phenomenal at taking limited, immediate information and just constructing a highly convincing narrative out of it. We almost never stop to ask, wait, what important information might I be missing here? The story feels completely coherent in our heads, even when the environment we are operating in is incredibly complex and totally unpredictable.
The big takeaway here is this: confidence absolutely does not equal accuracy. Just because you have a coherent explanation doesn't mean it's the correct one. We have this habit of assuming an expert's opinion should be trusted automatically, but really, it heavily depends on their environment. Take a chess player, for example. They operate in a world of really strict rules and immediate feedback, so their intuition becomes super reliable. But a professional trying to predict the stock market or long-term business outcomes, they're working in a highly unpredictable environment with terrible feedback loops. In those arenas, even highly experienced professionals are heavily influenced by their personal preferences, recent experiences, and their own shifting emotions.
Which brings us to Section 5, conducting a noise audit, exposing the system's flaws.
Since noise is practically invisible and our own confidence totally blinds us to it, how do we actually prove it exists in our companies and institutions? Usually, organizations will look back at a bad outcome and ask, was this individual decision correct? Who messed up? But if you want to find noise, you have to ask a fundamentally different system-level question. Would different qualified people have made the same decision? You literally take the exact same problem, give it to multiple decision makers independently, and just watch what happens.
Just consider these actual numbers from a real noise audit. Independent recruiters evaluated the exact same job candidate. One recruiter gave them a stellar 95. Another recruiter gave them a failing 59. This massive gap takes abstract theory and turns it into hard, undeniable data. If a candidate's whole future depends entirely on which recruiter happens to pull their resume out of the stack, well, that just isn't a fair system. That right there is systemic noise.
And finally, Section 6, Practicing Decision Hygiene, the Structural Cure.
So how do we fix a gap that massive? How do we actually clean up the process? The answer is something called decision hygiene. I absolutely love this analogy. Think about physical hygiene in healthcare. Doctors wash their hands to stop unseen bacteria from causing infections, right? They don't have to see the specific bacteria on their hands to know that washing them saves lives. In that exact same way, organizations have to systematically structure their decision-making processes to wash away unseen noise. You design the process so that totally irrelevant factors, like a manager being in a bad mood or their own subjective standards, just have much less influence on the final outcome.
Let's look at how this works in practice. Have you ever been in a meeting where the most senior person speaks first and suddenly everyone else just magically agrees with them? To prevent one person's powerful impression from completely dominating a room, you can implement an evaluate before discussing framework. It's simple. Everyone looks at the data, makes their own independent evaluation, and physically writes it down before anyone speaks a single word. You absolutely have to protect independent thinking before opinions start converging.
Also, you can't just rely on an overall gut feeling. We've all seen someone give a knockout presentation, right? And because they were such a great speaker, we automatically and unconsciously assume they must also be a hard worker, super smart, and great at problem solving. It's called the halo effect. Decision hygiene forces us to break complex decisions down into their separate components. You evaluate their technical ability completely separate from their communication skills.
And when you're scoring those individual traits, you have to use structured numerical scales. If you just ask for qualitative feedback, one manager's definition of excellent might be a 7 out of 10, while another manager's excellent requires absolute, impossible perfection. By clearly spelling out what a 1 through 10 actually means in plain text, you ensure that everyone is speaking the exact same language. You're creating a shared standard.
Finally, tap into the wisdom of aggregation. The golden rule here is simple. Separate first, aggregate later. Imagine asking one person to guess how many people are in a packed football stadium. They might be wildly off. But if you ask 5 people completely independently and then average their guesses together, that combined average is often remarkably close to reality. Aggregating independent judgments mechanically cancels out those random high and low errors from the individuals.
Ultimately, the goal isn't to say humans are useless and machines should just make every single decision for us, not at all. A lot of situations absolutely require nuanced human interpretation. Fixing noise isn't about pointing fingers at individuals or stripping away human judgment. It's about auditing the system itself. It's about knowing exactly where to add that structural hygiene so human expertise can actually shine without being clouded by all this random inconsistency.
I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative thought. Think about the absolutely most critical decisions being made at your workplace every single day. If you ran a noise audit tomorrow and had your top experts evaluate the exact same cases independently, what do you think you would find? Are you actively managing your systems with decision hygiene, or is hidden noise quietly managing you? Take these insights, start looking for that unwanted variation in your own world, and start cleaning up your decision-making.